thank you so much for joining me in this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored, extremely excited to be able to participate.
Yeah, I think it's so important that we are having this conversation,
Yeah.
and I hope that we can send a message out there. That it's our lives really have changed post 9/11, and so you are such an important voice in this conversation. And I'd like to know, how do you feel being you as a unique representative of this community, being an Arab American youth?
That's an interesting question. Like, coming as an Arab American person, it's a very tough topic that has most definitely shaped my life, I would say, for the past like 13 years or so, and essentially like my childhood and my young adulthood. And I feel that it's extremely important that we discuss it and that we participate in these kind of conversations, because it's something that has affected every single one of us in a specific way.
Okay. We will edit that. All right. So what are the things that you find kind of unique, and you find yourself so special in this era that you can relate with most Arab Muslim youth that are here in the United States?
It kind of gives us a privilege and a duty as young Arab American and Muslim American individuals in the United States, because we understand both sides of the story. We understand the Arab perspective as well as the American perspective, because we are both born and raised into each culture. And as Arab Americans, we sort of have this duty to speak out on behalf of those silenced Arabs and Arab American individuals that feel fear. And we have, once again, like this sort of duty to stand up for it and to educate a lot of other people on what is going on, and on the idea that us Arabs, we aren't represented by those 1, 2, 3, 4, like those 10, maybe 15 terrorists out there that are trying to essentially harm the United States. And we have to speak out on behalf of everyone else, because people will listen to us, and we're the next generation. And it's sort of like we allow the West to kind of win if we stay silent and we don't stand up for
ourselves. But the problem with that is that there's a lot of it's not easy to speak out.
No, not
because there is some hesitance when you speak out and you are not supported. I don't think there's do you think that there's not a lot of programs that are really supportive of if you have to come out and say you denounce violence, or in a particular attack, for example, the Boston Marathon attack, and you go out there, and I sometimes I understand why the Muslim community is hesitant to go out there and speak out. So what would you tell them about having that courage to go out there and maybe engage and connect with the American community, so that we can probably have a better understanding of what's happening?
The first thing I would say is it's scary. Like, I'm always scared to speak out. My family is scared on my behalf to speak out. Like this past semester, I was very involved in speaking out on behalf of minority groups that were oppressed by the system. And every time I came back from home, back to school, my parents would tell me, like, please be careful, try not to make yourself like really like well known, because we're scared, or visible, because we're scared of your well-being. But if we continue to stay silent and we don't take that risk to speak out, nothing's ever going to change, and we're not going to progress, and our voices will never be heard. And another thing that I want to say about that is, one of the most hurtful things, I think, as an Arab American and as a Muslim Arab American to hear, is that people expect Muslims to denounce these crimes and these acts of terrorism when from the start we never supported them in the first place. And that's something that we wish people knew and understood, is that those terrorists, what they're doing is completely wrong, and we recognize that from the start, even before these acts ever occurred. The religion never promotes that kind of stuff. The culture never promotes that kind of stuff. And it's just something that we wish people would recognize, is that you shouldn't expect us to denounce these kind of acts when it's within our human nature.
When there's a crisis, they don't reach out. That's what I heard, is that the American society, or maybe the government or organizations that are trying to fix this problem, don't reach out to you, to the community.
The way that they tend to reach out is by targeting us, and that's the big problem. And I think what needs to happen is that they need to ask us to engage in these kind of conversations, and when they ask us to come on CNN or MSNBC or like Fox News or whatever, that they don't target us. Because I've seen interviews where people have interviewed very well-known Muslim Arab Americans, and essentially they ask questions like, do you support ISIS? That's not how you're supposed to approach these kind of conversations. You're supposed to ask us, how do you feel about this? What can we do better? And unfortunately, that's not how American media or Western media honestly portrays that.
Yeah, the Western media is very problematic because they don't give you the complete picture.
No.
It's always incomplete. Most of the time it's inaccurate, and they just, of course, they choose what is they can sensationalize. And I think that this is one of those problems. And I think by you speaking out, and hopefully others will be able to enhance the understanding of people, so that we just don't rely on what they see and hear on the news.
Exactly, and I think that's why it's so important for us young Arab American youth, or Muslim Arab American, or Muslim Americans in general, to recognize that we're scared, but then take that risk and speak out, because then people will start to listen to us more and take us more seriously. And that is kind of the beginning steps on how to hopefully change society for the future generations to come.
Okay, awesome.